There's something I've noticed over the years: words have power. The things we say don't just affect how others see us, they shape how we see ourselves. And when you're in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, the way you talk about your life, your abilities, and your future can make all the difference in staying independent and respected. Now, I'm not saying you have to tiptoe around your feelings or pretend everything's perfect. But there are a few phrases that, if we say them too often, can slowly chip away at our confidence and even influence how others treat us. Maybe you've heard yourself or a friend say something like, "Oh, I'm too old for that," or "I can't keep up anymore." It might seem harmless, but over time, those words can start to limit us more than we realize. So today, let's talk about 5 things seniors should never say if they want to stay independent, vibrant, and respected. These aren't hard and fast rules, just gentle reminders to help you keep that spark alive. First up, I'm too old to learn that. Have you ever caught yourself saying this? Maybe when your grandkids try to show you a new app, or when someone suggests a fun new hobby. Here's the thing, our brains don't have an expiration date. Sure, learning might take a little more patience than it used to, but saying "I'm too old" closes the door before we even try. Instead, how about, "I'll give it a shot"? You might surprise yourself. Next, let's tackle a big one. I don't want to be a burden. Now, I get it. No one wants to feel like they're inconveniencing others. But here's the truth. When we say this too often, we start turning down help we genuinely need, or worse, we isolate ourselves to avoid bothering anyone. Independence doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means knowing when to ask for support without guilt. Try reframing it. "I'd love some help with this, and I'd do the same for you." That's what community is all about. Now, these are just the first 2, but they're so important. And I'd love to hear, have you ever said either of these things? Maybe without even thinking about it? Let me know in the comments. Because here's the good news, small shifts in how we talk can lead to big changes in how we live. And in just a moment, we'll dive into the next few phrases to avoid, ones that might be holding you back more than you realize. So stay with me, because this is all about making sure your golden years are as full of life and respect as they deserve to be. It's funny how the words we say can become little habits, phrases we repeat without even realizing how they shape our days. And sometimes, those habits can hold us back more than we'd like. That's why we're talking about the things seniors should never say if they want to stay independent and respected. Now, let's move on to the next phrase that might be slipping into your conversations more often than you think. "Back in my day, things were better." Now, I'll admit, I've caught myself saying this a time or two. And sure, there's nothing wrong with cherishing fond memories. But when we say this too much, it can accidentally send the message that we're stuck in the past, or worse, that we don't have much interest in the present. Instead, try something like, "Things were different back then, but there's a lot to enjoy now, too." That keeps you engaged, curious, and open to new experiences, qualities that keep you feeling young at heart. Next up is a phrase that might seem humble, but can actually undermine how others see you. "Oh, I'm just an old man/woman, what do I know?" Now, maybe you say it with a laugh, but here's the thing, you've lived a lot of life. You've got wisdom, stories, and lessons that are worth sharing. When you downplay your own value, it teaches others to do the same. Instead, own your experience. Try, "I've seen a thing or two, let me share what I've learned." That commands respect without demanding it. And here's one more before we move on, "I can't do what I used to." Now, this one's tricky because, yes, our bodies change. But focusing only on what's gone keeps us from seeing what's still here and what's possible. Maybe you can't run marathons anymore, but could you take a daily walk? Maybe you don't garden for hours like you once did, but could you grow herbs in a windowsill? The key is to adapt, not surrender. Try saying, "I'm finding new ways to enjoy what I love." That keeps you in charge of your story. You see, language is powerful. It's not just about how others hear us, but how we hear ourselves. And when we shift these little phrases, we don't just change conversations, we change our outlook. Now, we've got one more big one to cover, a phrase that might be the most limiting of all. So stay with me, because this last one could make all the difference in how you live your days with confidence and joy. You know, as we wrap up our conversation today, there's one last phrase I want to talk about, and it might be the most important of all. It's this is just the way I am now. Now, on the surface, that might sound like acceptance, like making peace with where life has taken you. But here's the danger. When we say this, what we're really saying is, I've stopped growing. And that's simply not true. You are never too old to evolve, to surprise yourself, to discover new joys. Maybe you move a little slower than you used to, or maybe life has handed you some unexpected challenges. But this is just the way I am now closes the door to adaptation, to reinvention, to finding creative ways to thrive. Instead, what if we tried saying, I'm still discovering what I'm capable of? Doesn't that feel different? It leaves room for possibility. Maybe today that means trying a chair yoga class instead of the aerobics you once loved. Maybe it means listening to audiobooks if your eyes aren't what they used to be. The point isn't about doing everything exactly as you did before, it's about refusing to let your spirit shrink to fit limitations. So let's take a quick look back at what we've covered today. We talked about how saying I'm too old to learn that limits our horizons, and how I don't want to be a burden can isolate us from the support we deserve. We saw how back in my day can accidentally push us out of the present moment, and how I'm just an old man/woman sells short a lifetime of hard-earned wisdom. We explored how I can't do what I used to focuses on loss instead of adaptation, and finally, how this is just the way I am now can quietly extinguish our sense of possibility. But here's what I really want you to take away. This isn't about policing your words or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about recognizing that the way we talk to and about ourselves shapes our reality. Every time you choose a phrase that opens doors instead of closing them, you're not just speaking to others, you're reminding yourself that your story isn't finished yet. So I'd love to hear from you. Have you noticed any of these phrases creeping into your conversations? Or maybe you found other ways to reframe them. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if this resonated with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more conversations about living fully at every age. Because here's the truth, getting older isn't about winding down, it's about living with the wisdom to appreciate life deeply and the courage to keep rewriting what's possible. So from my heart to yours, here's to your independence, your resilience, and to all the chapters still ahead. Thanks for being here, and remember, your best years aren't behind you. They're whatever years you decide to show up for yourself, exactly as you are, and exactly as you're still becoming. Until next time, take care and keep shining.